Now, I recently put together an FPV RC scale warbird. I used the FMS T-28 Trojan 1.4 meter bird. Um, during that build, I hit some roadblocks putting it together. I use a flight controller with the Inav firmware, running a Spektrum receiver. Most people use an ALRS receiver or Crossfire. I couldn't find a lot of information, easily on the internet or, on YouTube. Everything that I needed, all the information I needed was actually in the iNav documentation, in their how-tos, but it just wasn't clear, to me as I was reading through it, because, there's that learning curve when you're trying something new. As you start reading it and you read it again and again, it starts becoming clearer, and then it's like, okay, I understand it. And then, once you start applying it, it all starts clicking into place, and then it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. And, then it just all kind of works. Well, what I'm wanting to do in this series of videos is, for those of you who don't understand it your first go around as you read the iNav documentation, as I want to go through this process in the videos of how to do it through, using the Spektrum. And you can also apply some of this, if you're going to do the ELRS or Crossfire, applying this in a scale RC warbird and not using a wing or something else, because everything that you read is you have to program everything through the iNav configurator. You can't program anything through the transmitter. There's not a lot of clear documentation on, all right, how do I configure the landing gear? How do I configure the flaps? How do I do all of this? Because it didn't make sense to me, because again, everything that I'm reading is, all right, we're going to be doing wings. Well, I want to do the landing gear. I want, flaps. I want things, things that are specific to the warbirds. I'm not looking to do, long range FPV. I just want to keep, my warbird basically in line of sight, but in the FPV, because I'm not able to keep the plane in the air for more than 5, 6, maybe even 7 minutes. So in this series, I'm going to go through everything that we use, and how to put it together. So in this video right here, I'm going to quickly go over some of the hardware that I'm using, and then in the following videos we'll start through the process of putting it together, configuring iNav, putting it in the plane, and all the way through the maiden flight, and hopefully you can follow along and apply it to your build as well. So the first thing I want to show is the Speedybee flight controller. Now, we're going to be putting this in another T-28. I'm going to be building the E-Flite Carbon Z T-28 2-meter. So it is another T-28, but this is going to be a bigger T-28 than I did before, which was the FMS T-28 Trojan, the 1.4-meter. The T-28 is just a fantastic platform. It's very stable. It has the tricycle gear. It lends to I think a very good plane to start off in FPV scale warbirds for RC. But the first thing we want to focus on is the flight controller. Now, when you do FPV, you don't have to use a flight controller. So we need to get that out of the way. Some people opt to put them in there. Some people don't. I do. There's a lot of benefit of using the flight controller. When you use the flight controller, you get things like you can use the GPS. So when you're on your FPV goggles, you're able to get on-screen display. You're able to see with the GPS, you're able to get your the ground speed. You're able to get your altitude. You're able to get your your direction. But with the flight controller, you're able to do things like loiter mode, where you can flip a switch and the plane will just sit there and fly around in circles. Return to home function. There's a lot of cool things you can do with that. The flight controller is literally a computer that you connect everything to. It's central to the build. So I'm using the Speedybee F405 wing. So we're just gonna open this up and let you get a look at it. When you get it, you open it up, you have basically the instruction manual. And when you open it, you want to go through this and read it, because everything really that you need to know on how to connect it is in this thing. You know, this will be my second build doing this, but there's 3 boards in here. The first board here is the power distribution board. This is where you're going to connect your ESC and your battery leads. This is going to be the middle board. It's the actual flight controller right here. This is a board here where you can put a micro SD card, which is the black box where it records all of your data. And this top board right here, this is I think it's the wireless, where you can connect to how you can connect to it with a Speedybee app from your phone. It's pretty handy. But there is some soldering that does have to happen. You'll have to solder your ESC and battery leads right in here. And you'll have to solder your servo leads, or servo leads, not servo leads, but servo leads here. We'll pull this out. There's some things that come with it. You've got a whole slew of extra cables. These are very handy. These are how you connect the stacks together. And here's your servo. This is what you're going to have to solder to the boards right here. Also, the GPS. I opt to use the DJI O3 Air Unit. Is what I'm using for the FPV. And this will connect to this flight controller as well. You need to have the GPS for it to lock on the satellite, so that it'll arm to get full power for the DJI O3 Air Unit. The GPS that I'm using is the BZ251 GPS. It comes with a compass. Now the last one that I used was the BZ, I think it was the 180 or 181. It was okay. It's kind of slow to lock on sats or satellites. We'll see how this one does, and we'll go through the setup process of this and the videos when we set this up. For the receiver that I'm using, it's going to be the Spektrum 4651T, and it's an SRXL2 receiver. These are designed for it's a full range telemetry receiver. It's actually designed for flight controllers. It can do 20 channels. And you're going to need a lot of channels using the flight controller. I think on my last T-28 I was using I think 12 channels is what I ended up using. So to be able to use like the return to home, you'll have things like auto trim, auto tune. There's different functions that you'll have in Inav. There's a lot of really cool features of being able to use a flight controller on Inav. There's for line of sight, for what we're doing with the scale RC warbirds, using for FPV, I mean, I have plenty of range. I've never had any issue with range, or knock on wood, of losing any signal. But it's been great. But for me personally, I use the Spektrum IX14 transmitter. Programming is easy. I actually started on my first build, I was using the Spektrum NX10, and I had no issue with not having enough channels. But to use this receiver, you need to get this adapter cable right here to be able to plug this in. With this adapter cable to be able to plug this into the Speedybee flight controller. and I'll go over that in the upcoming videos on how that connects. Also, to be able to use the Spektrum receiver, there is in the command line of the Inav configurator, there are some extra commands you're going to have to put in there to make this work, to get the full resolution, and I'll go over that with you. It's not hard to do at all, but that was the one thing that I was struggling with when I first bound the my last build. When I first bound this receiver to the other build that I did, I was like, okay, this isn't working right. Why isn't this working? And I was struggling with it, and I wasn't getting any positive feedback from anyone. And when I was asking, they're like, oh, you need to go don't use Spektrum, go to Radio Master or FR Sky, and use use ELRS, Crossfire. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can do that, but I'm stubborn and I want to use Spektrum. I'm not doing long range. I just want to be able to fly where I'm doing visual line of sight, but I'm going to be doing FPV. So it's actually not hard to do, and the documentation to set this up is in the Inav documentation, but we're going to show you how to do this in the videos. For me, this is where the real magic happens. This is the signature bag for the MotionSic B.A.G pan and tilt gimbal. Let me open this up. Okay, so what we have here, what's inside is the pan and tilt gimbal that the DJI O3 camera connects to in here, and we use a head tracker, motion sensing head tracker, that also comes from the same company. It's the FPV It mounts to, for this version that I have here, I use the DJI goggles V2. It mounts to the side here. If you have the DJI goggles in Integra or the DJI goggles 2, they have another version that mounts to the front of the goggles. But if you have the V2 version, head tracker mounts right here to the side. And so what happens is when you're wearing the goggles, as you're wearing them, wherever you look, left, right, up, down, the pan and tilt gimbals, you got the servos here. The camera will, that's mounted in here, will it'll look up, down, left, right, and as you've seen in my videos, it gives you the perspective as if you're the pilot in the cockpit of the plane. It's a very surreal experience. It takes, in my opinion, it takes flying RC planes to a whole another experience. I used to fly general aircraft. I used to fly experimental and ultralight airplanes, and it's not the same thing. It's still missing a lot. You don't get the tactile feedback of being in a real plane. You don't feel the turbulence. You don't hear the wind noise. You don't get the vibration of the engines running. There's a lot that you're missing, but this is the next best thing. Your feet are on the ground, but in your mind and in your eyes, you're up in the air. And it's real time, and it's really amazing. And on top of that, if you have any dreams of aspirations or of flying, for me, I love World War II warbirds. You can slam this into your favorite warbird. Right now I'm putting them in the T-28s because that's a good platform to start with, but eventually I can see myself putting them in a Corsair or a P-51 Mustang, or you know, a P-47, you know, you name it, you know, people, you know, they're putting them in, you know, F-16s or, you know, any kind of jet, you know, F-18, you know, something like that. You know, you choose, you know, as long as the plane can hold the gear, you know, it's whatever you want. So just have fun with it. Okay, and here's the Carbon Z T-28 that we're going to be putting the FPV gear in. It is a large bird. I have yet to put the livery on. I haven't decided if I'm going to use what E-Flite provided, or if I'm going to, you know, order something from Cali Graphics. I just haven't decided yet. Now here's the inside of the Carbon Z T-28. When I purchased this, I opted for the bind and fly. It did come with the Spektrum AR637TA receiver. I will be pulling it out, and I'll use it for some other project. But this is where I'll be putting the Speedybee flight controller. I will be getting some multiplex connectors to take care of this rat's nest in here. This is a mess, and that's not going to be something where each time I go to the field I'm going to be wanting to connect and disconnect all of that. That's going to be just too difficult. But there's plenty of room in here for everything. I mean this, you know, you can put a small child in here and they can take a nap. So yeah, we're good. So what I want to show here is the canopy. So in the canopy, where this little pilot is, this is where we're going to put the MotionSic B.A.G pan and tilt gimbal. That is where the DJI O3 Air Unit is going to be mounted. We are going to have to cut the clear canopy out. It looks pretty clear, like we would have, you know, no distortion, but it'll be pretty distorted in there. It's not cloudy, it is clear, but I just don't think it's going to be clear enough. I think, you know, just based on the type of plastic, if we had it in there, I think it would just be too distorted. So it's going to be cut out. I'm going to show you here in just a second on the FMS T-28 that I did what it's actually going to be similar to. Okay, here's an example of the FMS T-28 that we built. Right here is the MotionSic B.A.G pan and tilt gimbal with the DJI O3 Air Unit mounted to it. So there's the DJI camera and the O3 Air Unit back here with a fan. There's a fan on top because the O3 Air Unit gets really hot, especially here in South Alabama. It'll overheat. So this is what we're looking at. You can see that, you know, the FMS canopy is way more cloudy than the E-Flite canopy. I had to cut it out, but even though the E-Flite canopy is a lot clearer, I just feel it's going to be too distorted. So we're going to cut it out. And you know, you have 4K video that comes out of it, and the results are just stunning. You know, when you're looking through the goggles, and also, you know, when you play it back. I hope I've given you enough information about what this series of videos is going to be about. This is only my second FPV scale RC warbird build. It's actually my only second FPV build. I'm sure I have forgotten several things on what I've done on the first build. So if I've missed anything, or if you have any questions while we go through this process, please comment, post, ask me questions. I'll try to address them in the next videos as I go through the build, or I'll, you know, try to respond to your comments. I don't want to leave anything out. If I make any mistakes, I'll make certain to include them, because you know, we all do make mistakes. So I appreciate you watching and following, and please consider subscribing. Thank you.